All right, welcome back. Today, we're diving deep and building a digital fortress. We're going to get behind the alarms, the key cards, all of it, to really understand how these modern electronic security systems actually work together to keep us safe. So, let's jump right in.
So let's just start with the big question, right? How do you protect a modern building? Is it just about getting a bigger lock, a louder alarm, maybe some fancy new camera? Well, the real answer? It's a bit more complex and honestly, way more interesting than just one single gadget.
And that's because the most important thing to get is this: real security, true security. It's not about one device. It's all about integration. It's about getting all those separate pieces, the alarms, the locks, the cameras, to talk to each other and work together as one smart system. Kind of like a sports team where every single player knows exactly what they're supposed to do.
Okay, so let's build this fortress, layer by layer. First up, we've got the digital tripwire. Think of this as layer 1, the nervous system of our building. Its whole job is to do one thing, and do it really, really well. Spot an intruder the second they step where they're not supposed to.
And what's so cool is how simple this system really is at its core. It's basically got 3 parts. First, you've got the sensor. These are the nerve endings, right? They feel something change, like a door opening. That sends a signal to the control panel. That's the brain. The brain figures out, hey, is this a problem? And if it is, the brain tells the annunciator, which is basically the voice, a siren or an alert on your phone, to make some noise.
Okay, so that leads to the obvious next question. What kind of nerve endings are we actually using here? And the tech is honestly fascinating, because different sensors are built to catch different types of trouble. Let's take a closer look.
So when you look at these different sensors, you see it's all about trade-offs. You've got your passive infrared, a PIR sensor. It just looks for body heat. Simple, right? But a really heavy coat could fool it. Then there's the microwave sensor. It's like a mini radar, bouncing waves off things. Super sensitive, but maybe too sensitive. It can actually see through a window and get triggered by a bus driving by. And that's why the really high security spots use what's called dual technology. It uses both a PIR and a microwave sensor, and it needs both of them to trigger at the same time. This simple trick just slashes the number of false alarms that drives security guards crazy.
All right, so our digital tripwire is armed and ready. But what about just letting the right people in while keeping everyone else out? That brings us to layer 2, which I like to call hiring a smart bouncer for every door. We're talking about access control. The simplest credential, the one we all know, is something you know, a PIN code. It's easy, it's cheap to implement, but man, does it have a huge weakness. It can be shared, written on a sticky note, or just spotted by someone peeking over your shoulder. At the end of the day, that kind of security is only as good as your ability to keep a secret.
So, moving up a level, we have something you have, a physical key card or a fob. But listen, not all cards are the same, not even close. Those older proxy cards, you can clone them with a device you can buy online for cheap. It's scary easy. But modern smart cards, they're a whole different ballgame. They use encryption, which means they act more like a tiny secure computer than a simple piece of plastic. And that makes them way, way harder to copy.
And that brings us to the top tier, the ultimate credential, something you are. Biometrics. We're talking about using a unique part of your own body as the key. Your fingerprint, the pattern in your iris, your face. You can't really share it, you can't lose it, it's the hardest possible credential to fake. Now, of course, this level of security definitely brings up some big questions, and we'll get to those in a bit.
Okay, we've got intruder detection, we're controlling our doors. The final piece of the puzzle, the last layer of our fortress, is the all-seeing eye. That's right, layer 3 is all about video. But it's about so much more than just hitting record. It's about turning a bunch of pixels into solid, actionable proof.
And this is a perfect example of why the number of pixels a camera has is so critical. Look, at a really low resolution, all you get is detection. You can say, yep, something is over there. That's it. Add more pixels, and you get recognition. Okay, it's a person wearing a red shirt. But to get to the point where you can actually identify someone, to have police say with certainty, that is John Smith, you need a ton of pixels right on their face. But it's not just about the number of pixels. It's about the quality too. You've definitely seen this before. Security video where someone walks through a glass door on a sunny day and they're just a big dark shadow. You can't see their face at all. That's what happens when a camera doesn't have wide dynamic range, or WDR. It's such a crucial feature. WDR basically tells the camera to take 2 pictures at the same time, a dark one for the bright spots and a bright one for the dark spots, and it magically blends them together. The result? You can see the person's face and everything outside, crystal clear.
So, we've built our high-tech fortress. We're done, right? Not quite. Now we have to talk about the reality of actually living with these systems. Because security is never perfect. It's a constant balancing act, a series of tough choices between safety, security, and just plain convenience.
Take alarms, for example. They're not all created equal. You have a nuisance alarm, that's when something you know about sets it off, like a spider building a web right over the motion sensor. Annoying, but explainable. A false alarm is worse. That's when it goes off for no reason you can see, maybe some kind of malfunction. And here's the real danger. If you get too many of those nuisance alarms, guards can develop alarm fatigue. They hear the sirens so often for no good reason that when the real event happens, they don't react as quickly.
And here's another huge choice you have to make. What happens when the power goes out? Think about a fire exit. You absolutely need that door to be fail-safe, meaning if the power cuts, it unlocks so people can get out. But what about the door to a bank vault? That needs to be fail-secure. If the power cuts, it has to stay locked to protect what's inside. One choice prioritizes safety, the other prioritizes security. You literally can't have it both ways, so you have to decide which is more important for that specific door.
Even our super advanced biometrics aren't immune to these trade-offs. There are two ways they can mess up. A false rejection is when it's you're supposed to get in, but the scanner says nope. That's annoying, right? You have to try again. But a false acceptance, well, that's when a total stranger walks up and the system lets them right in. That's not an annoyance, that's a disaster. And that's why security systems are always set up to be extra careful, to avoid that catastrophic failure, even if it means you might get annoyingly rejected once in a while.
Really, it all boils down to this single idea. The entire philosophy of security is built to stop the absolute worst-case scenario. Because the most dangerous failure isn't the one that keeps you out for a second, it's the one that lets an intruder in.
And that leaves us with one last really important question to chew on. These systems are getting so much smarter, right? They're starting to use AI to try and predict things before they even happen. So as this tech gets woven more and more into our daily lives, we all have to ask, where is that line? Where do we draw the line between feeling secure and protecting our own privacy?